Have you ever wondered if what you believe is really the truth, or have you ever been in a conversation with someone and wondered, do they honestly believe what they're saying? Well, tonight we dive into the intriguing world of truth and perception, a topic that touches the core of our existence and shapes every aspect of our lives. From the philosophical debates that have puzzled thinkers for centuries to the everyday decisions we make based upon what we believe to be true, understanding the nature of truth is more than just an intellectual exercise. It's essential to navigating the complex world around us. This conversation promises to not only challenge your current perceptions, but also offer insights and tools to discern truth in a world filled with contradictions and varying perspectives. Join us as we peel back the layers of reality, question the unquestionable, and discover the profound impact of truth on our lives and societies. Now, as we get started, because as you guys can see, the topic of today's conversation is you can bring everybody back up. As you can see, the topic of today's conversation is breaking through the illusion. You can bring everybody back. Breaking through the illusion, seeing the truth. I want to make sure that we clearly understand, because this particular conversation is, I think I really need to say this now. Again, this panel is this platform is called Empowering Perspectives, and that said, we believe wholeheartedly that everybody's entitled to their own perspective. In fact, not only just that, we are the subject matter experts of our perspective. That's what we believe here. So again, make sure that we're respecting everybody's opinion. And I think this conversation has the opportunity to not only be fun, but also enlightening as well. So I kind of like want to jump into it. We're talking about illusions. So I just want to ask you guys real quick, in your opinion, what are they? What are illusions?
Things that we believe are right in front of us, but they're not. In better terms, things that we believe that are not true. I think there's a lot of things that we walk through our day-to-day life. Here's a reality. Even in a construct where we have a governmental power, we have, I don't know, 200 and something people working in our government behind the scenes. Most of us really don't know 90% of the things that go on the table to be voted for, to be enacted into policies and and to go forth into legislation. But it's happening every day. And so the idea that we know and we understand everything that's going on in our country is an illusion that is fed to us, but we don't know none of it. We don't know half of it, And so and that's just something small and minute that I can use as an illusion, but we've been fed that this place is governed by the people. But the majority of the people don't even know where to go look to vote on some of these things and some of these policies. So it's not governed by all the people.
I think it's kind of like our interpretation of the truth, in a sense, or what reality is. I think interpretation is a good word. I think perception is a word that we could use. I think our view is a word that we can use. And I think any of these different words can be used to kind of, like I said, our interpretation of what is the actual truth, in a sense. That's my kind of stab at it. And because I guess that's it. I got some more, but I'll let somebody else go.
I think it might have already been said, but to me, an illusion is something that isn't there, but you think it's there, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. And all right, so I'm gonna add more to it since you kind of left the window open.
Yeah, and I'm gonna shut up.
No. I want you to work with me, because I think this is I'm kind of thinking it out loud as I go. So I'm kind of equivalating it to actual magic. Like David Copperfield, David Blaine, different things like that. And I'm trying to take out the magic and incorporate it into like real life, or into like real life or a real life scenario. So I think, just like with magic, someone may show you this, but in reality it's actually something else. So, and I don't think that necessarily, it's not just with magic, it's with life in general.
I think anything that we take and use our senses or our perception of something and make it truth rather than gathering factual information, that would be an illusion. Like you have an optical illusion, like when you're in a desert or when you're driving, you have something that you think you see, whether it's a mirage or whether it's how the light shines. Your mind conjures up what it is by how you perceive it.
We can't hear you.
My bad. I thought I unmuted myself. I like that as I'm listening. So it's like, as I'm hearing you talk, I'm hearing different perspectives of the same thing. And for the most part, I don't or can't disagree with anything that you're saying. Um, from my perspective, and I like the fact that Roland brought up the idea of senses, right? Because the notion of an illusion is a distortion of the senses. Now, I think that becomes just that piece alone is key. It's a distortion of the senses, revealing how the brain normally organizes and interprets sensory stimulation. So when we understand that, that should help us to understand something. And I tend to say it all the time, but I'm going to hold on to it until we continue to progress during this conversation. Illusions distort reality. They are generally shared by most people. Illusions may occur with any of the human senses, such as visual illusions, or we call them optical illusions. They are the most well known, but in a broader sense, illusions can also refer to beliefs or perceptions, as previously stated, that are not based on accurate information or that misrepresent real situations. This broader concept is often explored in discussions about social, cultural, and cognitive illusions, where individual or collective beliefs do not align with objective reality. These can stem from various factors, including cultural norms, psychological states, or misinformation. So, I want to ask you guys, based upon what you've already said, what you kind of heard me say just now, give us an example of an illusion. And Gaddy, I got your political reference, but what are some others? And I'm not putting you on the front. I'm not putting you on Front Street. I'm just saying, what are some other perspectives of illusions that we have experienced or that you've seen, just from day to day?
Before we go there, I don't know if this goes before or after this question, but but I wrote down, I was thinking about illusions versus learned behavior. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the difference? And I don't know if it goes before this or after that question, but that's just what I was thinking, because I was looking for more clarity in deciphering between what's an illusion versus what is someone's learned behavior.
Okay.
So do you think it goes after?
We can entertain it now. I'm good with it.
Okay. So that's
I
kind of what I
think-
want to know, like from the panel, like what's the difference? Like, how do we determine what is an illusion from what is someone's learned behavior or where they got their information from?
And so I think it kind of starts treading down the hill of something that I see starred. So I wasn't gonna touch it. But when we start talking about the learned behavior idea, right? You got my mama taught me to open the door for a lady. That's not an illusion. That's what I was taught to do. That's my behavior, right? And so the difference is that an illusion can be part of what's taught to us, but it becomes it becomes taught information to the level that is now believed, and it's now subconscious. So subconscious it becomes unconscious. So this thought process that this thing is true because I was taught this is true, because my mama believed it, my daddy believed it, everybody believed it, so I believe it. And so I think that's where we're getting the difference between taught behavior and the illusion. The taught behavior is just how I was taught to act, react, or to do. But this illusion is based off of a level of information that I was given that just wasn't true. But I wasn't taught about the true information, so all I know is this false information that's laid in front of me. That makes sense.
Yeah, the way you landed it brought everything together. I got it. Definitely got it.
Yeah, you kind of go down a rabbit hole when you talk about this, because a lot of times a learned behavior and illusion can be the same thing. You understand what I'm saying? Like it can be the same thing. So yeah, this I think that aspect of it is deeper than the surface that we just hit it on.
So
You understand
how
what
can
I'm
it
saying?
how can it be the same? I'm sorry, Roland, if you had something, go ahead.
Yeah, because I don't necessarily think they're the same. I think they can cross over one another, because I think when you're looking at the illusion, especially in what Twami was just speaking on, the illusion is my perception has now been jaded because of the information that someone else has told me. So
Right, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. I didn't, when I meant the same, I meant in that aspect of it. You understand what I'm saying? I didn't mean that they were exactly like the same in definition. I mean that sometimes when you have one, there's the other, if that makes any sense.
Okay, yeah.
Now make it make sense, right? And this is why I say that, because I want to understand, based upon what you're saying, how can it be the same, or how can it be? I think we got how it can be different based on what Roland just said, but how can it be the same?
Be the same. I wouldn't necessarily say they're the same. I would say that
they just in the same lane, like they line up, if that makes any sense.
I would say that one may be the seed that produces the illusion in said person, because I've heard this, I taught this, so I have zero factual information. So now, instead of going off of what I know, I'm going off of what someone else has told me. So when I see the thing, I see it through the lens of whomever told me or taught me, instead of what I've learned for myself.
Okay, I need an example. Give me an example.
An example is Democrats always look out for Black people, because over the generations after Kennedy and so forth and so on, we've always been taught this is just how we follow. This is how we vote, because Big Mama did it, my mama did it, everybody has followed in that vein, because they told us that this is what they did. They marched with us. They did this, but we never looked at policy. We never looked at the governance of the people and the laws that were established. So the illusion is these people are on my side versus these people, when in actuality, none of them are on your side. You got to be on your own side, and you have to make sure that you enact policy through if you do it through the voting or whatever you do, versus me depending on someone else. The illusion is they got my back.
I like that. Yeah, y'all want to do politics. I don't want to talk politics no more tonight. Let's talk about personal interaction.
And it's easier than stepping on toes left and right.
But that's an illusion, because you can't influence any of that. So why waste our time talk about it? That's our personal interaction.
I bet I'm gonna do it.
Oh shoot! Let me mute my mic.
So
y'all thought it was gonna be me. Y'all thought it was gonna be me. See, that's what y'all get.
Don't kick me off the broadcast after I say this.
You good?
I'm pumping the brakes right now, but I got something written down.
Say what you tell me.
Let me say to all the ladies in the chat, I love y'all. Y'all are the most amazing women in the world. All right. No matter what anybody say, Twami got y'all back. Like, you know what I mean? Now, with that said, like, you roll up on Shorty and she looked like she's a 10. but she loaded with 10 pounds of makeup. There's an illusion of non-blemishing, right? There's an illusion that she has no flaws. Her jawline looks like this, and her lips is full like this, and you're running to her based upon this attraction, but the attraction is based upon layers of work that was done behind doors, right? So you said personal interactions, but in reality, now that we know the women that on here, they look good with or without makeup. I'm talking about the other women. But reality, when they take the makeup off, they don't look like what you thought you was trying to holler at. They don't look like the same. Like, that's like catfishing in real life sometimes. Like, I'll be watching, y'all be seeing them transformation videos, man. And when you look at it, you're like, I believe that this level of visual beauty is what it was and what I saw. But what happened when you wake up next to said person and the makeup done rubbed off, and you see all the blemishes, you see the skinny lips and the wide jaw lines that wasn't drawn in. Now we in a whole different ball game. I'm sorry.
Wait, I like where you went, but I'm gonna go a different route. I think an illusion that I've always seen my whole life would be people using the phrase like I'm blessed and highly favored. And they're making it seem like being blessed is the perception is I got everything all together. I got all this money. I got this. My kids are good. My wife is good. But why can't I be blessed when I'm going through hell? Why can't I be blessed when people getting on my nerves? I'm still the same blessed. I'm not sitting up here. I hate when people fake it. Sometimes you stress simply because you're blessed. You're going through because you have his hands on you, and those things come. Now, what do you do with it? But that illusion of, oh, I'm happy-go-lucky and that makes me blessed, then that's one of those things like, I'll be like, get out of my face. Like, come on now. Every day is not a day where you're going to have everything all together. And that's just life. And I got to be the same blessed whether I got it all together with $10 in my pocket or I got it all together with $110,000 in my pocket.
Garfield, your face is priceless right now.
I saw Chris unmuted. I was like, I'm gonna wait.
The floor is yours, Unc.
I think there's an illusion out there that gender equality, that men and women are equal. Not to say that both are not excellent creatures, but I think that we were designed differently on purpose. And I think that has created a lot of division in the community, because instead of accepting everybody for who they are, I think it's like I said, it's kind of looked at it as equality, and there's no such thing as equality in anything. You know what I mean? There's 5 men up here and none of us are equal. You know what I mean? So no two things are equal, not even 2 snowflakes. So what makes you think that we're going to have anything that's going to be equality? Like, it's not about that, but I think that that's a big, that's a huge illusion. I think that these people have their roles and these people have their roles in the relationship, and whatever those roles are they are determined by the people that are in that relationship. So that's my 2 cents on the an illusion. And I think that, if I want to go a little bit more into the topic, seeing the truth, I think that when people is in relationships understand that they're not equal, but they work together, and that the rules between their relationship are understood, I think that their relationships are a lot better. Even the men that's on this panel tonight. No one yells at each other. No one cusses each other out. You know what I mean? Like, there's none of that. So I don't want to spill off into anything. So I'm gonna pause right there.
What you got, Chris?
There's an illusion inside that illusion. If I can do an illusion inception real quick. There's also the illusion that simply because there's no real like gender equality, that the role of our reflection is diminished because it's not the same as ours. That's an illusion in itself, because their role, just like our role, is extremely important. You understand what I'm saying? It's just not the same, but they're both, I would say the only type of equality that there would be is that they're both equally as important. They're just not the same. And it doesn't diminish one or the other. We're just different. And we're supposed to be that way. We're built that way. You understand what I'm saying? So yeah, that's my take.
I like it. I like it. I'm not gonna lie, y'all stole my thunder. I was actually going to seriously. I was going to talk about diversity and inclusion, because diversity and inclusion is a hot topic as it pertains in the workplace. But in all actuality, it can be misleading as well. I think what they're talking about is pretty much equal access. So everybody in the workplace is supposed to have equal access, equal opportunity, so forth and so on. So if, say, for example, we put this job listing, we know we're going to hire for this particular job, then by law, I need to make it available for everybody to apply for it instead of wanting to give it to Chris, because I know Chris is qualified for the job. I actually made the job for Chris, but I got to make it available to everybody, because if I don't, I did not make it. I did not give everybody equal chances to pursue that. So I do agree there. I'm gonna go back to Gaddy's point about opening the door. Mama taught you to open the door, so therefore, I'm gonna open the door. Opening the door isn't a bad thing, right? It's not a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with opening the door. But the minute that I take that, what Mama taught me, and said a real man opens doors for women, that's an illusion, right? Just because it works for me, just because that's what I taught, just because that's my norm, and I take that and I blanket it across everybody and say everybody's supposed to do this, and if they don't do this, then they don't measure up to the quality of what men, and I'm just using men because that's generally who open doors, right? It doesn't measure up to the quality of a man, then that now I just created an illusion based upon what I deemed as being norm from my upbringing, and I have now pinned that to everybody. So that's my example of an illusion.
Just to learn behavior versus the illusion in one sentence. Yeah, same thing.
Absolutely. There were some great comments that were highlighted earlier that we kind of got, we didn't get a chance to bring to the table. So I'm going to bring those up now, starting with Lisa's comment. And this is their response to what an illusion is. So Lisa said, an example, when the police ask a group of people for the description of individual, you have different descriptions given. So is it a subconscious bias? It's definitely a subconscious bias. Absolutely. I think. Go ahead.
I was just saying on that first comment she made, I've read it a couple of times when she first made it, but you reading it out loud made me realize not all illusions are made with malice, because the police officers do have a vision or an illusion of what the suspect may or may not look like based upon the words or the information given by others, but
Right.
It wasn't with malice. It was just the information given.
Okay.
Or perception.
I like that.
Good point.
I like that. Now, Chris, apologize in advance. It's a military thing again. All right, you remember when we went through basic training, like we thought that, at least I had the illusion that the drill sergeants were the baddest mofrackies on the earth. Little did I realize is, some of them were, but they were playing a role at the end of the day. Like they had to present themselves in a certain manner in order to get a certain outcome that they wanted. you know, but there is definitely an illusion at the end of the day. They're just men and women just like everybody else. But bro, I was scared in basic training when I first got there.
Nobody. I wasn't
Yeah.
scared. I know.
Yeah. You say, yeah,
look,
not all with malice. So I appreciate bringing that
Yeah,
up.
absolutely, absolutely. Miss McCoy says that it is the way your mind or brain processes information and thoughts. That is an accurate statement. Very good. I greatly appreciate that. So let's kind of get out. Hold on. Sounds like fake it till you make it concept. Yeah, yeah. That is that within itself is an illusion by itself. So let's kind of, because we started kind of teeter-tottering around it. So let's tackle the first key point is the perspective on truth. So that said, the question that I have for you, gentlemen, is there any such thing as absolute truth, or is all truth relative? I'm sorry.
I think in our minute minds that, and I say that just in the relativity of information that is may or may not even be available, but that exists, right? It will always it can always seem relative in our minds because we can always argue and kick the can further and further down the road, but it doesn't change the fact that an absolute truth still exists. That's all I got.
So you're saying yes, there is absolute truth. Okay.
I would have to say yes too, and that's only because in order for truth to be quote unquote relative, you have to come up with some type of exception, and that exception only proves that the truth exists. You understand what I'm saying? So yeah, there is an absolute, and it's difficult for me to say that because I normally don't do I don't do absolutes. Only a Sith deals in absolutes. Word to Obi-Wan Kenobi. But to be real, that I do believe that there is an absolute truth. I do.
I'm on the fence, but I'm kind of going a little bit more with relative. And the reason why is because absolute truth, the thought that came into my head was who or what determines what the absolute truth is. Like, in order to say something is the absolute truth, it has to be measurable, or someone has to say it, or it has to be proven. So how do we determine what the absolute truth is? So if I'm looking at it, I'm kind of leaning more towards all truth is relative.
Gotcha.
I guess I'm gonna slide over here with because I look at things. We'll say water is wet. We can say that's an absolute truth, but then you can go around the corner, around in the
Water's
globe,
not wet.
and then somebody will say, "Well, that depends on your language." So now is wet what you say it is, or is it what I say it is? So now you got people arguing about this part of it, saying what we will agree that it is something. But when you say it's an absolute truth, I think we have truths that are agreed upon by the majority, but that's relative to how you think and what you've been taught and the information that you hold.
Oh, we two to two.
Very interesting.
But see, even in that example, water is wet, there's still an absolute truth. Water is water. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why that this is a rabbit hole that you could just go down. Like let me stop. Let me shut up.
But who says that water is water?
I'm gonna take a poll.
You said that water is
hold on.
water.
Wait. We ain't finna do that. No, that's a rabbit hole. I'm not doing that.
Okay.
I want to take a poll.
Okay.
If I release this, which direction is going?
Down.
I got one that says down.
It's going. If
South,
you release it,
down.
If I turn it loose right now, which direction?
if you drop
go?
it, it's gonna go down.
Okay, there's two that says down.
Yeah.
Okay, so 3 say down.
4 said down.
Okay, 4 say down. So if it's going to go down, can I prove that?
Yeah.
Can I prove what you just said?
You can prove that the direction of travel is beneath, but you can't necessarily prove that down is the direction. unless we all agree upon down being the direction.
That part.
Wait a
Yes.
minute.
Yeah.
You said if you
Yeah,
released
I was
it,
thinking that too when he
Yeah,
said
you-
what direction.
that means you can throw it and it can go any which way you
No,
want.
no, 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 no.
He just talking
No,
about
he
letting
said
it go.
let
Yes,
go
I just let it go.
It's
Which
going
direction?
See,
It's-
because it's down the direction.
But
direction.
see, that's
but see, this
that
is the
direction
rabbit hole.
no. Here's why. That's relative to here because we're here on Earth. If he was to do the
But that-
same thing on the moon, it would not happen. So
But that's
it's
the- that's
relative to where we are.
But
in
notice,
space.
but no, oh, wait. Notice what you're doing now. You're adding new information.
See,
Thank
No,
you.
we're talking about
Thank you.
absolute truth.
No, I say if I drop this right now, what
Mhm.
direction would it go? See,
It would go down.
Right, it will go down. And can
Mhm.
I prove what you guys just said?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a fact. Therefore, based upon what you thought, what I just proved, that made that the absolute truth. I don't care what direction I do it in. I don't care where I go. I can even take it and throw it. It's going to go down. Why?
Eventually.
Because the law of gravity will guarantee it happens. And if there is a thing that guarantees a fact that's going to happen, that is a truth. And it will happen every time, which makes it absolute.
so are you saying that an absolute truth is based on natural law?
I'm saying it can be governed by natural law.
Okay,
That's why I
alright,
did not want
alright.
them.
That's
That's
where
why
I'm-
I did not want them to talk politics, because we were going to
Yeah,
talk law early.
Exactly. That's
see what
why
I'm
yeah, that's
But-
right up my alley.
So this is why I said that there's an absolute truth, whether or not we're privy to the information. This is why scientists work so hard and they journal so hard, is because they're trying to get to the absolute truth about a thing, but they just are not privy to the information yet. So they have to keep trying things and keep trying things until they get to the truth, to the answer. And so I think a lot of times we dismiss things because we don't have the information.
Very good, sir. 2 stars. Hey, 3 stars for Gaddy. I see what you did there. So that was my friend, is what we call proper analysis. Very good. I like that.
He was being the available man just now.
But so and so to my point, I believe that there is absolute truth, but then I also believe that there are things that are relative as well as it pertains to truth. Because like Garfield started injecting, when he started injecting new information, if I was on the moon, right, it would behave differently. And so what we have to realize that a lot of times, as it pertains to the life that we live, okay, thank you for the 3 stars there. As it pertains to the life that we live, there are some things that are absolute. We know that if I do this, this is going to be the outcome. But then sometimes we need to analyze the information that the environment has given us so that we can actually change what we would normally do to create the outcomes that we want. Do me a favor and bring up that statement, please, by Miss McCoy. She was over there dropping nuggets today. She said, "What is a lie? It is the illusion of the truth." And I will say, relative to that point, if it is malicious intent, then I will definitely call it a lie. But there's also a degree of ignorance that can be added to that. And if it is ignorance, I wouldn't necessarily call it a lie. So I want to inject that piece in there as well, because sometimes it can just simply be ignorance. I didn't know. I thought what I was saying was right, but so yeah. All right.
Is it an illusion of the relative truth, or is it an
You know
illusion
what?
of
The
the
next
absolute
key
truth?
point is the next key point is the nature of illusion in everyday life. So, gentlemen, the question I want to kind of throw at you real quick. In your opinion, what ways do our senses deceive us on a daily basis? And what does this tell us about the reliability of our own perceptions of reality?
Gabby already said it, the makeup. No, I'm just playing.
I thought we got off of that, man.
I
Man,
say,
hey,
this
I'm
is
about
what
to say,
we are
hey,
doing on this fine
I'm
Friday
about to
evening.
say he made it back to shore, bro. Let him stay over here.
Man, I'm trying to stay dry now, man. Well, I guess since I'm talking, you know what's crazy? As I'm thinking about this, is like we base the things in our senses based on repetition and experience, or repetition of experience, right? Like when I smell something, I close my eyes and I smell something, right? I'm smelling things, but if I don't know what it is, so I'm relating it to something that I have smelled before. It smells like peanut butter. It smells like shrimp. It smells like whatever I want it to, whatever it is, but does not necessarily mean that that is what it is. It's just something that smells like this thing that I've smelled before. Same thing with the feel. Oh, that feel like. But if I never touch fine fabric, I only know, and I only know cotton. So it might feel like smooth cotton, but don't feel like cotton at all. It feels like another fabric. I just don't. So in my mind, unless someone tells me otherwise, I just felt smooth cotton, the smoothest cotton I ever felt. I just smelled peanut butter, and so our senses we can only rely upon them based upon the experiences that we have already been exposed to. And to my understanding, that's how I believe it.
Here's I'm gonna stab at it. I think that visually and how we interact with people on a daily basis. An example would be I have heard a lot of people over my 48 years when in the presence, I'm going to talk about Black people being in the presence of sometimes Caucasian people. They may clutch their purse, or let's say even switch the roles when you may see someone who looks with a hood on, and you may have a certain perception of what is going on with that person because they look a certain way based off of your perception of reality. So I think in a lot of cases, we may say, yeah, that guy is a hood guy, or this guy's this, and that's based off perception of our reality, when really that person is not. That person may be an upstanding citizen, maybe never been to jail, yada, yada, yada. So I think that when it comes to, because I mean, we all do it. We all kind of sort of judge or kind of size people up based off of the information that we already have received in our life. So I think that, and sometimes it's wrong. I think sometimes I've heard stories when people have said that, someone was racist to me, but I'm like, well, did you have a conversation, or how do you know that? And they say, well, I just felt that way. You know what I mean? And that could be a perception of your own reality, when in the truth, it could be really something else. It may not be that, but just nothing more than your own perception of what your reality is. So I think just visually, when we see people in public and in public places, I think our eyes on a daily basis have a lot to do with our perceptions of our reality.
I like that. You went visual. I think that sometimes dealing with people, we will have perceptions that, say, a man speaks to a woman, and now this is not everyone, and she automatically think, oh, he flirting with me or whatever. He might have been telling you, you got a spot on the back of your pants, and then pants white, so you might want to go change. But her experiences, as Tawanda was saying, lead her to think that everybody that say something to her is flirting, trying to get with her and everything. So your perception is not necessarily reality. That's why you got to feel this thing out rather than just go off of perception right off the bat. And because that'll help you. Whereas because even us, if we see somebody that look a little rugged, instinct tells you, protect yourself, protect your surroundings, watch out, be aware, not to just walk all willy-nilly like you Pee Wee Herman walking down the street, because I got to protect me. So if
but that's based off the information that we've been receiving.
Yes,
it's
and
not
the information
natural.
that you know.
Yeah, information that you know, right. Because if
we'll not be thinking about you.
Yeah, because when we're around those people, like we all got people in our family who look a certain way. It is what it is. You know what I mean? And when I'm around these people, I don't feel no type of way. But I may go to New York and I may feel a certain type of way based off of my perception of what I've always been hearing about people in New York. And I don't want to go there. I don't want to go to the Bronx. I don't want to go to none of them places. I want to stay far away from there because I heard y'all be whacking folks. No one had nothing to do with it. I don't want to get mugged on a train.
The crime rate by percentage is higher in Killeen than it is in New York. But anyway,
I won't go there.
Sheesh.
but by percentage, you gotta look at population. Anyway, uh,
Yeah, but just
but
saying though. Yeah.
that's where you get into the idea of relativity, right? Our perceptions are definitely relative, right? They're not. They can be true, but is always going to be up for discussion because that's your perception versus mine, or versus someone else's, So we can't continue to rely on the fact that I feel this way because that's what it's always been. So I think at that point we have to get to the point to where we ask questions. So when our senses kicked in, he asks questions. Hey, is this or is it? Get some more description so that we can make better decisions based upon what we see, smell, taste, or feel.
I'm gonna make it personal too, because we're talking about senses. I used to have a really, really bad procrastination problem because every morning I would get up and I would overwhelm myself with all the stuff that I needed to do, and then I would get this gut feeling that I'm never gonna get it done, and it's defeatist. And then I started getting up and doing it, and I saw that it really wasn't all that bad. Like I had this illusion in my head that I was going to be going through all of this rough stuff when it was only rough in the beginning. But once I started doing it consistently and getting my body used to it, it wasn't really all that bad. So I guess a lot of times it's like I always say, man, we have a movie playing in our head that only stars us a lot of the time. And I'm just now getting good at editing and casting. So that would be, I guess that's where I would take it, since we're talking like senses and how the body moves. You understand what I'm saying? Because I'm really, really, for the past decade and some change, I've really, really been diving into how my body feels when I do certain things, or when I'm in certain situations, or when I think about things that I need to do. You understand what I'm saying? Like I'm really starting to get in tune with that.
You good, bro? Okay. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. Um, I will start it off by saying that first and foremost, our perceptions are based upon the information that we receive. That's what perceptions are. So the information that we take in. Perspective is the lens in which we view things from. Um, Someone mentioned the idea of the notion of it being relative. Sure, it is. It's relative to me. So when we look at the question again, what we have to realize is that based upon the question, please, the question, yes, when we're there, thank you. Um, when we look at the question again, what ways do our senses deceive us? Because the senses will deceive us because it takes all information and it says, hey, what about me? So if it's hot outside, it's hot outside. But if I walk outside and say it's hot to me. It don't matter what the temperature gauge says, right? The temperature gauge may say 75, but if I walk outside, my senses say it's hot to me. So that's the first thing I'm going to have to say, because your senses take all of the outside information and point it at you. And so the unfortunate part behind us is that the unfortunate part behind this is that when it comes down to reality, it doesn't really give us reality. It only gives us our small piece of the pie as it relates to reality. Again, I like to do this because this makes sense. You can't see the entirety of this cup. So your perception of this cup only exists from what you can see. But there's a whole side back here that you're missing. And that's the difference. So as it pertains to the information that you get from, the environment, the information you get from this person, the information you get from whatever, it's all relative to you. And as you process that information, in most cases, until you mature, it's going to be all about you, because that's what the information is telling you. And you're hardwired to fix you. I'm sorry, not fix you. You're hardwired to protect you. So when you relay that information, well, you robbed me of the opportunity to. Well, you didn't let me. You prevented me from. You didn't allow me to. None of those are true. None of those are true. Now, in some cases, it can be true, depending upon certain accesses and gatekeepers and things of that nature. But in most cases, it's not about that. It's about the fact that you're positioning it so that you can make yourself the victim because the information that you're receiving is received from the perspective of you. And so that's kind of like my take on that. Great points. Let's skip that next question based upon time. And I kind of want to introduce a concept, and this concept is called the Dunning-Kruger effect. Okay. So a common example of an illusion that refers to beliefs and perceptions is the Dunning-Kruger effect. This cognitive bias leads people with low ability at a task to overestimate their ability. It's an illusion of competence that is not supported by actual performance. Those affected by the Dunning-Kruger effect are not only poor performers, they are also unaware of their lack of skill, fail to recognize the skill in others, and do not recognize the extremity of their inadequacy. In essence, the Dunning-Kruger effect can create a profound illusion regarding one's self-assessment of competence, knowledge, or worth. This illustrates how our cognitive perceptions can often create a distorted reality where individuals believe they are more skilled or more knowledgeable than they actually are. This illusion is not confined to just individuals. It can occur in groups or across various domains, impacting decisions and behaviors in significant ways. Now, I wanted to kind of bring that to the forefront because now let's go back to that question above it. Now, what common everyday illusion has had the most impact on our lives, and how did we come to realize that it was an illusion?
I guess the main illusion is that social media and real life are the same, and they're not. Jesus Sage. Social media and real life are not the same at all. Because if I base my opinion on social media, I would hate everybody. But I go outside and people are actually cool. Listen, man, real life is cool. Real life is cool, and going outside is cool. Talking to people is cool. Everybody isn't out to, you know what? Nope. Mm-mm. Nope. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. But that would be where I would go. That social media and real life are the same, and they're not. Most of these people on social media don't even act that way in real life.
How did you learn that? If you don't mind me
By
asking.
going outside. Actually, you know what? I take that back. Every year after my birthday, I do 6 months of hell. It's basically from September 20th to March 19th. No drinking, no smoking, no fast food, no since I used to train martial arts, I'm not allowed to street fight. I'm not allowed to have sex unless I'm in a relationship, and I'm not allowed to be on social media. So I unplug, and I actually live in the real world. You understand what I'm saying? That's how I learned that most of the stuff that's on social media is fake nonsense. It's an illusion. And it's an illusion people hide behind because they too afraid to go outside, because they think everybody outside is out to get them, or because somebody disagrees with them that they hate them. Shut up. All right, I'm done. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
When you get a 40, 50, you ain't gonna have to have certain times where you don't want to street fight. Your body gonna tell you just leave that alone.
I'm not allowed to. That's the thing. But I see what you're saying.
I think I like where you went, because I think sometimes we think that the people that we see on TV, the people that we see in our comments and in our inboxes, we think those people really care about us, when in actuality, they don't know you. so they can't really care one way or another for you. They just either like something that you post or dislike something that you post, but their opinions really don't matter. And we take too much credence, we put too much credence on what they think or what they would say versus how something makes us feel. And that's one of those things, it impacts people's lives too much, because people will be like, well, such and such did it like this and that person is doing that. It's like, come on now, you have to establish your own, you have to establish your roles, and you can't make what somebody else say as truth for your life. And that's one of the things that I think I see, especially with younger children and so forth. You see that all too often, where they take what people say that are experts or whatever, they take what they say, the information that they give them, to make it the, hey, that's their bond, because that's the truth, instead of searching something out for themselves so that they can learn and grow and see what life is for them, rather than living through other people's eyes.
Yeah, I like that. I think one of the common everyday illusions is the news. And I don't want to talk. I'm not going to go into the politics of it, but just not to make this a political decision or conversation or anything. But if you look at it, if you look at one channel, they will be discussing something, and they will have a spin on it, and then you go to another channel, and it's the same exact same exact event, but there's a totally different narrative or a totally different spin on it. And they both sound factual, they both sound truth. So I think that's one of the biggest illusions that impact our lives is what we watch on the TV. I think there are a lot of people who watch the news and they experience a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety, scared to go outside, scared to send their kids to school, scared to do a lot of different things because of what they're seeing on the TV. But if you look at some of the data, we live in some of the safest times that we ever have. It's just that when you turn on the TV, it looks like there's a lot more going on. You know what I mean? So I think that's one of the big ones. And then if you look at the news in general, like you really can't break anything down in the news. You know what I mean? Like they have 3-5 minute segments and clips and stuff like that, but they have to get so many different topics in within the span of that news show. So it's like you really can't get all of the information about the war, about this, about that. You know what I mean? So we're kind of forced to go to different avenues to find information, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's a great thing. But I think just the news in general is one big illusion that has impacted our lives on a daily basis.
Man, this one here is a hard one for me because it's kind of like, where do I go with it? So many things I could say. But to be honest with you, this conversation kind of takes me to a lot of these heated discussions in today's social media world, because a lot of these arguments are arguments because it's a bunch of illusions that somebody's better than somebody or somebody's not good enough, or it's just, to me, I feel like, because when Chris brought up social media, social media is just jaded with illusions and false realities of what is, so that's what I'm saying. Like it's kind of hard where to go with it, right? And so I take it the easy road, right? The idea that Black families don't exist, full Black families, if you let the media and social media tell it, Black homes are either broken or soon to be broken, right? Have we helped the narrative? Yeah, maybe we've helped, some sense of the word become accomplished, but what helped me know that wasn't true is leaving my current, not my current now, but my current environment at the time, joining the military and seeing not just people from other walks of life. Because when I used to say that as a young soldier, I was talking about, you know, seeing people that wasn't Black or Spanish, but really seeing other Black people from different walks of life, seeing people who don't live in major cities and have both parents but look like me. Like these things are a reality, but it's not something that's promoted or pushed on the forefront. So that's something I had to, I can't say I had to break my mind from understanding, but that's something that kind of helped motivate me to want to, you know, to want to be a family man, because I didn't want kids and I didn't want to ever get married because I just thought it was all, you know, fool's gold. But seeing that made me want to be a family man, because I've realized that Black families can exist. Black fathers can exist in homes. So
I like it. I like it all. I'm gonna go out on a limb because I've been thinking about this, not necessarily this question, but what I'm about to say. I've been thinking about this for a while now. And I tend to think about things before I say it because I like to analyze it from different perspectives first. But for this particular question, what common everyday illusion has had the most impact on our lives? First, I'll stop there and I will say good relationships. I think the notion of good relationship is an illusion because I don't care who you are, you've never experienced good relationships. You've experienced relationships in your life that you perceived was good based upon either prior experiences or what you had in your head about what good relationships look like. Therefore, ideally, we get to the point of comparing certain things. We compare what I believe relationship looks like, what I've experienced in my life, and then I get to listen to what you shared and kind of things of that nature. And then either we get jealous of what somebody else have, or they get jealous of what we have, but we start trying to learn from one another. So the notion of a good relationship is an illusion, because ideally, just relationship by itself, the notion of relationship by itself is actually good. Now, how you exist in it is the issue. That's the concern. Like, so your understanding of what a good relationship is, you know, and now we get to the perception of it all, right? So your upbringing, the things that you've learned, your experiences, failed relationships, all that great stuff. So now that gets through the way of you expressing your idea or your notion of what a good relationship is. So again, going back to my point, the notion of good relationship is an illusion because in most cases we had an idea in our head and then we realized that that our idea was probably too lofty or unattainable or whatever. So just that alone, just that notion of good relationship. And like I said, I took a minute and I sat on it because I wanted to make sure I processed it from different perspectives. And I don't care how I looked at it, got to the point and I came to the conclusion and I concluded, got to put my finger in the air. I concluded no one ever experienced it. Go ahead, Garfield. I know you got something, bro.
Yeah, because right here I'm totally disagreeing, and I'm like I'm in a good relationship right now, and I think Shell in the comments would probably agree. So maybe I'm mishearing, or maybe I'm not hearing you correctly or something. But what I don't understand. Maybe
No, you're
maybe I
good.
didn't get something.
You're good. And I would not disagree that you believe you're in a good relationship, but I will also submit to you that you're in a relationship that's better than any relationship you ever had.
Yeah.
Okay. But does that identify it as good? You see what I'm saying? So now as we start looking at certain things, you know, what we are currently existing in, and I'm just using you because you brought that up, right? What we're currently existing in is better than what we've ever experienced. Therefore, in our mind, it's good.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. It's better than what we've ever had, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's good because there's always room for it to grow. And if we look at it from that perspective, we're pursuing good.
Can I be good and continue to pursue good even though I'm good?
No, because none is good. Not one person is good. That's why he laughing.
No, not one.
I understand. I love the dialogue because I'm looking at it like people will say I'm skipping relationship, but I'm still on relationship, but I'm gonna go with the people will say, I hear a lot of people say I have a bad relationship with food. It's not necessarily that you have a bad relationship with food. It's just how you choose to not discipline yourself in that vein is bad. The food that you eat in moderation can be good. Or even people that say, well, I eat well. Yeah, you eat a lot, you eat some things well, but you may not need certain things. Like when I said earlier, I don't eat sweets. What I meant was cakes, cookies, and stuff like that. But they know I had me a whole bag of annihilators and Skittles and all that other stuff, and I'm raising my doggone diabetes. But my relationship with food or sweets and everything, it's all here. So I can make it good or bad. It's how I perceive it.
Chris, you look like you're deep in thought, bro.
I'm just taking all of this in. I'm just taking all of this in because it seems like the biggest illusion is control.
What do you mean?
I could walk out of my apartment right now and walk down to my car and fall down the stairs. I didn't want to fall down the stairs, but I fell down the stairs. You understand what I'm saying? Like there's certain control itself is an illusion. I think the main thing that everybody is talking about is choice. We all have choices, and those choices form our thought process, and sometimes that thought process can be an illusion because of the choices that we make in the environment that we're in that's causing us to make these choices, or the thought processes that we are having that's causing us to make these choices. It's all of this. It's basically choice. Or am I reading it wrong?
I wouldn't say you're reading it wrong. I would definitely agree with what you're saying though. Like, but it's you got to go back to your biases, your subconscious bias. So ideally, we'll make a choice, and that choice ends up creating the situation that we exist in, right? Well, the situation that we exist in gives us information back, and that information we get back, sometimes we look at it as I'm the victim of the situation, not necessarily realizing that I created the situation to begin with, or I exist in a situation and I view my world through the lens of my skin, right? And so, first and foremost, I'm a black man. And because this situation presented itself and I didn't feel like I was represented well because you didn't allow me to, right? So, again, the term for you didn't allow me to show up. So now you have an issue with black people. So that's kind of what I'm saying. So it's not that you're wrong, but it's just that everything always, like everything about our lives, will always stem from the choices that we make. Will always stem from the thoughts that we have, which leads to the choices that we make, right? And back to the point with getting back to the notion of good relationship versus bad relationship. We're always in pursuit of good relationship, but we can exist in a relationship that's better than what we say, than what we've ever experienced, and then we're kind of grandfathered to good. Like you hear people say, "Well, I'm a good mother, I'm a good father." No, you're not. You're just a father or a mother. That's it. You just want people to believe that you're good. So you're putting the moniker of good before it. So you're presenting the idea, hoping that somebody accepts it as such. But the notion of father and mother is good by itself. It doesn't need that in front of it.
You just gave me another illusion.
Did I?
Yes, you did.
Or did I give you a fact?
It's something that I see, but it's another illusion. How about the illusion of thinking you deserve a pat on the back for being a grown up? Shut up. You're a grown up. You're supposed to do these things. You don't get a pat on the back or a high five for being a grown up.
But you know why that statement makes you passionate when you say it? It's because of what you just talked about, right? When we realize that we really don't have control over our children's decisions, over our children's life, we can help what information is fed to them to aid them in the decision making process. We can give them some strong motivation to do what they need to do sometimes, but the problem is most people think that they actually control the narrative, which is why they're looking for the pat on the back. But when they realize that you don't really control the narrative, then you're just a parent like everybody else. Then we get to that point to where you are, to where it's like, congratulations for being an adult. And people like, I pay my own bills.
You're supposed to, stupid.
You don't control the net. You pay the, thank you for growing up and being like every other adult in society, right? There's no pat on the back for that, but that's because we think that the narratives of everything is in our hand. And I think once we lose that, my bad, go ahead.
No, you good. But to your point, you're absolutely right. So I can't control anything that none of you guys do, right? I can only control what I do. But what we do is we create narratives to try to control what somebody else thinks. So I will put additional information on the front of a title or a story that goes behind the back of a title because I want you to believe a certain type of way that empowers me. And so that's the issue that we have in the space of personal interaction. We create these terminologies, we create these stories, these narratives that shape the notion of another person's thought processes. And in most cases, it taps into the emotional side of the individual. So if it has to do with some type of thing, let's just say what most, okay, if it's about child support, right? Because a lot of men suffer from child support, right? Some rightfully so, but some erroneously, whatever. Most men will never speak highly of child support. Most men. I'm not going to say all of them because that will be a false narrative if I say that. Because anytime you give any generalization, it automatically makes it false. So most men will speak negatively about child support. Okay, but when it comes down to that conversation that we have, in most cases, we're going to always have that conversation with us being a victim. Let's be honest. Why? Because a lot of us have been literally abused when it comes down to that system. That system is not about the well-being for the kids. It's not about helping the child live and grow up and be healthy. It is all about keeping you out of the child life to a certain degree. So you got to jump through, you got to do cheetah flips. You know what I'm saying? You got to do all this other stuff just so that you can have a healthy relationship with that child.
As a former employee of said system, I will say that the biggest illusion is that family court is for the family. It ain't. Family court is for the state to get paid and get a grant so that way they can keep making money off of y'all. Do y'all listen? Nope.
That's why the child support goes through the state before it gets to the mother.
I've seen magistrates direct the man paying child support to pay directly to the state and the woman not get a dime. It is a cash grab. I really wish y'all and this is why I call it an illusion, because people on the outside that just see it on surface will see something different. But I'm in the inner workings of it. Like I've moved files between every major courthouse in the city 2 or 3 times a day, 5 days a week. I've seen this. You understand what I'm saying? The biggest delusion is that family court is for the family. Family court is to keep y'all apart and spending money so that way everybody else can get rich. And I really wish we would understand that, man. I really do.
And this conversation isn't a man versus woman because women pay child support as well. It is a family conversation.
It's a big extortion thing to me.
Exactly.
It's a big extortion thing from the state siphoning resources from the breadwinner to give to the person that don't have no money. And sometimes the breadwinner is the woman. Sometimes I'm looking at it from both sides. It's if you are the one that makes the most money in the situation, you're probably gonna get ran over the coals because that's how the state is set up.
And the reason, and part of the reason why it's the illusion that it's an all-out attack on men is because a lot, and I can let me not say a lot of us. Let me say for me, why that I have that illusion that it's an attack on men. Not only did it hit me hard at one point, but also I grew up listening to women say if a man don't do right, get pregnant and then leave him. Now he got to pay you for the rest of your, like so you hear women literally plot it out, and so that has been so for me. It makes that illusion that it's an attack, that all women are, once they get pregnant, they're going to attack men and use the baby as a weapon to manipulate the men, or they're gonna get them for their child support. Like you know what I'm saying? So though that's not true, because that's a generalization, but just like I said when it came to the broken homes, like, are we not helping the narrative a little bit? We can help fix the narrative by fixing the mindset. But this goes back to the previous part of the conversation. when you realize that there ain't no good relationships only seems good because we're content and we both willing to sacrifice for the greater cause, which is the relationship, and you don't have no control. This is just everything wrapped up in one, but I'm gonna leave that alone.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Chris. I like the fact you brought the notion of control in there. And I'm agreeing. I'm totally not disagreeing with anything you're saying. I'm agreeing 100%. Again, we just got to get to the point to where we recognize when people are trying to control us, right? When we are trying to control other people, and remove that from the space of relationship, so that Garfield says, so that we can actually exist in that space in harmony. And I think that'll be a beautiful thing. I think we got time for one more. Let's jump down to Echo. The last question. The last question before psychological comfort of illusions. Discuss the impact of echo chambers and filter bubbles. All right, gentlemen, last question for the evening. Discuss the impact of echo chambers and filter bubbles created by media consumption on the internet.
I don't know what a filter bubble is. So I'll speak on the echo chamber piece. One thing I noticed about the echo chamber is that a lot of times people who are having some of these conversations have never even experienced what they're having conversations about. And I think that's a huge negative impact. I don't know how many times I'll cut on social media something and I will hear, men talking about what it takes to be a good woman. I hear women talk about what it takes to be a good man. I hear single people talking about this is what it takes to have a successful relationship. And it's so many people repeating the same exact thing. However, they've never been in any of those situations. So I think that it can have a very negative effect when people who people who are out there talking about, oh, you should never get married because of this and this, right? Well, they're not listening to the people who are saying these are the reasons why it's a good thing to get married. So they'll go down the rabbit hole, go down the echo chamber, and he keep hearing that same thing, and then it starts. I think sometimes it can create a thought pattern or a mindset that goes along with it, to which you can eventually start acting those things out, or they start becoming part of your belief. So I think that, there's both sides, but I think the negative side of the echo chamber can have a very negative effect on people as in general.
I think it's totally negative. I don't care even if it's a positive thing. If you only listen to one point of view, you're going to side with that view and not even listen to the other side. That's why, like, I know some people, I don't listen to Fox News. Some people, I don't listen to MSNBC, because they think, or they'll say that's left wing, that's right wing, and they never take accountability for themselves to say, let me gather all of the information and make up my own mind. But what we'll do is we'll find ourselves, we'll listen to these set of people, and those are the only people that we listen to. And so now we end up saying exactly what they say. So the same talking points they have or they support, that's the only thing I support. That's the only thing I'm into. Whereas if you listen to everything in a whole, then you can gather an overall opinion about something versus one side, one side or the other. And that's what the echo chamber or the filter bubbles do. We only take what's in our little sections and we say, this is truth. I don't care what else can be said. That's not true. This is true. We have no evidence that that's not true because we won't even listen to it because we're in our bubbles and I only listen to people like me. I only listen to people that look like me versus I'm listening to people, anybody that sound like they got some sense. I will listen because I'm going to parse out the information in my due diligence in my studies versus what somebody just shoves in my mouth and tell me to eat.
Man, I like that you put echo chambers with filter bubbles because I'm, maybe it's just the way that I look at it, because I look at a filter bubble as kind of like how our social media algorithms, right? They just continue to give us the same information over and over again based upon, our searches. So you're reinforcing every day you get on there and you go through the social media and you want, man, everybody thinks like how I think. No, they don't. Your algorithm is just reinforcing what you like to listen to, what you like to talk about, what you like to hear. So you think everybody is agreeing with you, but they're not. And the reason why I say, because when I think about the echo chamber, I think about maybe I'm thinking about it too much as a musician, as a singer. I think about how you get that reverb and that echo, that bounce back. I'm waiting. All I'm listening to is my voice bouncing back at me, my opinion bouncing back at me. So we live in this world where we only talk to people who think like. I know people that be like, oh, what, you like who? You ain't black, you can't talk to me. All right, bye, I won't talk to you. But and people laugh at me, but I like debating. I like talking to people I know don't believe what I believe. I know don't agree with what I think is true about a certain topic. Because one, it gets boring talking to people who agree with you all the time, right? But two, it reinforces what you have been reading or what you have been studying, and helps you prove it, or it makes you better at defending that thing, or more knowledgeable of what it is you say you believe or you don't believe, because now you're getting a perspective that's not already yours. And so I think that's the impact, is that most of us cannot see anything outside the lens of our small space because we're just listening to the same voices bounce around in the small room, and there's no other opinions.
To me, echo chambers and echo chambers and filter bubbles is why I'm not on anybody's side when it comes to debating anything, and I look at everything from an objective point of view. Because echo chambers and filter bubbles have everybody out here acting real stupid. Like it's stupid. We're having stupid fights about stupid stuff. Seriously. And it stifles communication, because most of the people in those echo chambers and most of those people who are only looking at things that confirm what they believe don't know how to be challenged. They don't. They think that a challenge is a personal attack, instead of me actually trying to figure out if what you believe makes some sense. Like I listen to everybody. Like, case in point, I used to, and before I even heard a word she said on the internet, I used to think Candace Owens was the biggest grifter in the world, until I actually sat down and listened to an interview that she had, and she actually started making some sense. And then that's when my whole perception changed of Candace Owens. She makes a lot of sense sometimes. And the fact that I'm even saying that allows people to put me in a bubble or a box that I have absolutely no business in. People are acting real stupid right now. And what angers me the most is that we know better. We do. We know this is stupid. We know better. We know better. I say this all the time, man. We're not this stupid. Like, we're not this stupid. For real. We're not this dumb. I refuse to believe that. I have too much faith in my people to believe that we are this stupid. But hey, maybe this is me thinking utopian.
I don't think so. I also think that it's a small percentage of the people. I think that most people are not on YouTube and not looking at that information. I think it's another case of the small having some of the largest voices.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with that. And a lot of times they just continue to put them, not to repeat the same thing that's already been said, but they elect to put themselves in the same conversation that just reinforces their own biases. Even when you start looking at filter bubbles, they construct the algorithm so they only see those things as well. So they're getting it every time they go on social media, just kind of reconfirm what they're thinking. And then they put themselves in those situations with people that speak the exact same language. And a lot of times what you'll find is that they're adopting what somebody else says and now it becomes their talk. And so a lot of times the sheeple do not have the ability to formulate their own thought and think, objectively as it pertains to information. So when you present information, they struggle with analyzing information in real time because it doesn't fit the normal talking points. I can't, you know what I'm saying? 1 + 1 = 3. Wait, what? Let me back up. Now that doesn't make sense to me. They taught me 1 + 1 = 2. What's the actual point? And so a lot of times that's what ends up happening when you throw some different information out there. Yes, I did say sheeple. When you throw some different information out there, they struggle because they can't analyze and come up with a thought in real time. I just for the sake of conversation, just throw that last question out there before we get to final thoughts, because I know we're cutting it close. So that said, why might individuals find comfort in maintaining certain illusions about themselves or the world, even when faced with evidence to the contrary?
You should have been had this question.
Right?
Control. Sometimes it could be about control. That's why, like, racism is a race. And if I can keep other people behind me, that makes me in the front. And I want to be the front runner. So as long as I spread narratives that other people are inferior, then it keeps me out front. It keeps me in a position of control. And now not only do I control people through that, I control them through media. I control them through any of those aspects, because now I can paint you, I can demonize you. So if you look a certain way, I can post that and I can make it the narrative that, oh, this person, just like if you watch TV, you will see almost every criminal, I don't care what color, they're going to put on a baseball cap and a hoodie. And that makes them look a certain way. It makes them look thuggish or whatever. So when I can push those narratives out there that this is what evil looks like, this is what bad is, it keeps me in a position of control, because I can sit back and allow that to fester in other people's community while I rake in money and I continue to stay on the top.
It's funny as I listen to you say that. That's what they're doing with cyber hackers now, right? So if you notice, every like video or whatever that has a person who is hacking or whatever, they got them like a hoodie with a baseball cap. They got this dark image because they're trying to put a image in your head that it's not good for you to be a cyber hacker or whatever that looks like, knowing that some of the biggest hackers that work in the industry work for these big name companies in the government. So I like that. I agree.
I like what Roland said. I'm gonna kind of go the opposite direction, and I'm gonna say some people find comfort in that it supports them not taking responsibility. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say, it leaves them with no responsibility. You know what I mean? If there's a certain illusion out there that I can never get ahead because someone is keeping me down, then they're not forced to do anything because they have taken all of the responsibility off of themselves and they have put it off onto someone else. So I think that that's whether that's comfort or not, I think for some people that is kind of comfort. Because you like, well, it's kind of an out, and that kind of goes into the mindset of it, but it's kind of an out when you can say that, hey, you know, I'm never going to get ahead because I'm in a certain system, whatever like that. So that's just my 2 cents. I think it allows for people to not take responsibility.
Again, I agree because you see it all the time. As long as there's a reason why, then there's no need for me to do anything differently. I love it.
Yeah, I that's where I was gonna go with it. I'm gonna keep mine short. Illusions make people comfortable being stupid, knowing that they're being stupid. Like, you know better. Like, you know deep in your gut what you are about to do is stupid. But you have this illusion in your head thinking that it's okay for you to do it. So you do it, knowing it's stupid. I said I was gonna keep mine short, so I'm gonna keep it short. I'm gonna keep it short. Illusions make people comfortable acting the way that they act and doing the dumb stuff that they do.
I think simply is just it's fear overall for some people, right? Because everything everybody said is true. Um, and so I think for others is also fear, right? The fear of what? Fear of change. Some people fear change. Fear of going down that rabbit hole and believing something and then it being wrong, wasted time, whatever. Um, fear of accountability in a sense, right? And one that I know hits close to home for me, and Roland know what I'm talking about when I say it. But the fear that mommy and daddy was wrong this whole time with what they taught me. Some people do not hold new information because it goes against what mommy and daddy has taught me, what granny has taught me. And if they're wrong, then that means they're not the intelligent beings and or not just intelligent being, but whatever it is I envisioned them being, whatever kind of Superman I thought daddy was, whatever kind of Superwoman I thought mommy was, they're not, because they were wrong and they taught me wrong. And so, and if I accept this new information, though it makes more sense than what I already believe because the evidence lines up, then I have to go home and tell my parents they're wrong. And that changes your entire world. If I have to change my outlook on my parents, which shaped how much I held on to what they said, then what else do I need to let go of? And for a small fraction of a second, feels like my entire world is caving in because all my entire world of information is starting to crumble. Depending on what the illusion was, right? I know that was kind of deep, but yeah, I'll plant my flag right there.
I felt like we was about to get the late night love show slow jam mix coming up next, man. Wait, what's happening right now?
Yeah, you see how his voice smoothed out the whole way.
Like, what is going on? But so I had a thought.
There was another illusion in that too. The illusion of it being disrespectful for you telling your parents that they was wrong when you found out new information. That ain't disrespectful. Your kids, they should be able to tell you when you messed up. They should be able to do that. You should have that open window as long as they being respectful about it. You should not have no issue with that.
You got to say, excuse me one time for the people.
Especially if they're grown. Look here, I got one last illusion before we go into final thoughts. If I create a narrative that we're gonna do a raffle, and we're gonna have a raffle drawing in 90 days, and I convince all of you to participate in the raffle, and the amount of money that I collect from the raffle, I put this big ginormous number on a billboard and said we're going to have a drawing in that day on that day and call it a lottery. Did you not know that you were paying for the actual? All of the monies that you paid for the ticket was the actual drawing that came from. I mean, I'm just curious. But okay. That being said, we're gonna go into our final thoughts.
Well, I guess my final thought would be simple. This whole conversation was about finding the truth and breaking through the illusion. First things first, before you go seeking whatever truth you are looking for, I truly suggest you have a very, very long and very difficult conversation with yourself about whether or not you really want it. Because a lot of times, this truth that you are going to find, which breaks this illusion that you've been living in, can hurt a lot. So, yeah, that's my final thought.
There's a lot of illusions we can talk about that needs to be broken away from. But I say let's be motivated to open up our eyes to not reject things that don't feel good or that doesn't go along with the narrative that we already believe. Um, the scriptures in Proverbs 18 tells us that only a fool would argue without hearing the whole of a matter. So get the whole of a matter, because there's information, there's truths out there that we don't know, that haven't been exposed. There's things that we believe to our core, and it's going to send us in the wrong direction in life and after, right? So let's exhaust information, and let's and be conversationalist. I think a lot of people in this society that we're in now, a lot of us as we get older, or a lot of us that were not born in the late 90s and early 2000s, we become so introverted because we don't like these new people. So we don't talk, but talk more, conversate more. You gain a lot of information, and go down the rabbit holes every now and then. That's all I got.
So today's topic is breaking through the illusion or seeing the truth. The thing about an illusion is that may not always be able to see it. And this kind of goes back to my analogy early on when I was talking about like a magician, and sometimes illusions are created to deceive us. In order to be able to see the truth, we have to be able to break through that deception in order to be able to see it. So, the only way to do that is that I think that we have to work on ourselves. We have to seek out new information, and then different things like that. So, on this journey, and because we all going through it every single day. We all see illusions out there, but it is up to us to see through the truth to that, and see how the truth, the absolute truth, can benefit us in our lives and going forward. That's my final thought.
I think we need to get used to listening to people and information that puts us in a position of discomfort. Because when you're in a position of discomfort, it'll make you research, it'll make you think, it'll make you think outside of your normal box. So don't look at things as bad or good when it comes to information. Look at it as information, and let that information guide you to seek what the truth is within that, because there are things that you don't know. Your way is not always the right way. Your thinking is not always the right way. You didn't always think how you think now. So open up your mind to actually listen to those that don't think like you, and you'll find that you have more in common than you do than you don't have in common. So look outside the box. Don't ever put yourself in a box. and learn to listen with an open ear and an open mind. That way you can decipher through the mess and see what's beneficial versus those things that just sound good that aren't beneficial, but you just go along because it's from the side that you like to slide on. So that's my take on that one.
I think this was overall a good conversation. I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Um, for me, I like to talk about the real briefly the Dunning-Kruger effect. I think a lot of times for believers, we understand that we are not to think more highly of ourselves than we ought to. That helps us to embrace a certain degree of humility. But here's the other side to it. A lot of times, even in the midst of doing that, we tend to think that we know more than what we ought to. We tend to think that we know a lot more than what some other people do, and that by itself can be an issue. That can be an illusion, because sometimes we know certain things, but we don't have the ability to apply certain things. We can quote this, but we can't live this. We can say this, we can talk equations and things of that nature, but when it comes down to practical application, no one can actually see it. And so I say that from the perspective of every version of deception that you can ever imagine under the sun is wrong. I don't care what it is. So if you're trying to convince somebody that you're really good and you're not really that good, that's deceptive and it's wrong. Even if you're good, let your behavior and your works prove that you're good, not your lips. And so a lot of times what we do is we try to articulate ourselves being a whole lot better than we want to, than what we really are. And let's be completely honest. All of us has done it at some particular point in time. You wanted to be accepted. You wanted everybody to like you and so forth and so on. And so you kind of told the story about yourself. You shared something that wasn't true, or you kind of talk about yourself as having all of these accolades, these attainments, so forth and so on. But the only thing we were really doing at that particular stage is bragging on ourselves because we want these people to view us from a lens that we want to be perceived as. But it really reveals more of an insecurity that we possess. So we got to be careful. We got to be honest with ourselves first before we can be honest with anybody else. And so for me, that's the thing I would say. So please go look up the Dunning-Kruger effect, digest it, understand it, and hopefully that by itself can help us to get to the point to where we don't do a whole lot of lip service. Let's just do a lot of service. So listen, I know we went over tonight. We greatly appreciate you guys for staying with us. Again, remember to hit that like button, share it as well, because I think it's a great conversation. Go back and look at it again. For those of you who are available tomorrow morning at 10:30, we'll be talking about submission part 2. Those are always great conversations because we talk specifically about relationships. So that is awesome, and I look forward to that as well. Again, every week, every Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here, the Hearts of Men podcast. You guys have a great rest of your evening. And if we don't see you tomorrow, have a fantastic weekend. And remember to let the best version of yourself be a blessing to somebody else.